In the heart of the state-of-the-art, at the dawn of the next stage in entertainment, you found No Proscenium.
You have indeed found No Proscenium, the voice of everything immersive. I'm your host, Noah Nelson, and welcome to episode 373, our first episode of 2023. This week on the show, we visit the Ministry of Peculiarities out in Azuza, California. This is one of the most talked about escape room experiences in Southern California, and for good reason. Our team, including far-flung members of the review crew, finally got down to the business of solving the mystery of Hope End, and we are all the better for having done so. Seriously, people from David and Lisa Spira of Room Escape Artist to many more kept telling me that I'd love the game. And while I believed everyone, it became a big priority to check it out after the Ministry popped up at the 2022 LA Immersive Invitational and blew us all away with what they came up with in under 72 hours. We settle in for a chat with the Overlook Film Festival bound creative team in just a moment, but first, a little Patreon update and a disclosure. You might remember that the Ministry recently became a sustaining backer of NoPro. I'll note that this episode was already recorded when that happened, and it's super flattering that the gang over there believes in the mission here. It's always an honor to have creators who are doing good work make the choice to help us carry the mission onward. Speaking of, we currently stand at 384 Patreon backers, 16 off from the milestone of 400, which is our next big goal. Keeping us on the path this month are Adam M. and Chris Frost. So if you can, please jump in and back us at www.patreon.com/noproscenium and help us hit that 400 backers. If you're already a backer, those reviews on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice help spread the word. And as you look around for us on social, maybe to help reblast, what do we even call it anymore? The content around, we are always No Proscenium, except on Insta, where we are No_Proscenium. We're also on the lookout for community partners who are up for working out special deals for our backers. Hit me up at noah@noproscenium.com for details. As always, big thanks to our sustaining backers, Samuel Mustry, Chris Woolman, Samantha Davison, Eric Shamlin, Elaine, Jay Bushman, Jerome Joseph Genties, Tom Leonetti McGuire, Wynn Thorne, Ryan, David Bassick, Richard Ayers, Lonnie Hanson, the Ministry of Peculiarities, and Jan Budman. And now, without further ado, this week's interview. Today we find ourselves out in Azusa, California, in the headquarters of the Ministry of Peculiarities, which many of you, hopefully, luckily, know is one of the most incredible escape games, not just in the Southland, but probably in the United States. A story-driven mystery that's just structurally both the same and totally different from so many other things. And we have three of the minds behind the Ministry with us today.
Adam Moody, co-owner and co-creator.
Benjamin Berk, the general manager here.
And Jonathan Berk, a co-creator and co-owner.
How do you guys, when you want to describe this place, how do you describe the Ministry of Peculiarities?
Oh, you're tossing it to me. Okay, well,
the tough one. Right?
We're an escape room. There's no question about that, and we're definitely part of the escape room community, and enjoy being part of the community. But we're trying to do something a little bit different. Early on, when Adam and I created this company, we shared a love for immersive theater, and so we wanted to, pivot a little bit from solving puzzles to get out of a room to telling a story that the person becomes, that the participants become part of. I'm sorry, I'm not terrible.
No, don't. You're doing just fine. So, that's perfectly cromulent. It's absolutely solid, because the thing that I keep on noting is that it feels a little bit more like you're living a mystery than, you guys are all nodding, which is great, than sometimes the classic vibe in escape room, which is that, it feels like, oh, this puzzle for this puzzle's sake. It's like the gestalt really becomes the star of it, as opposed to necessarily anyone like, oh, that when we were doing that one puzzle right there. Not that the puzzles aren't good, they're really excellent, but they all sort of feed into the overarching narrative. And I wonder, when you guys started making this, you mentioned you're into immersive theater, you want to do something a little bit different. What was the spark? Why get into this field, and why take it in this direction? What's the origin story here?
I would say that it was just a passion for both escape rooms and immersive theater, and wanting to see the two married together, probably a little bit more properly. We saw a few companies tampering with the concept, but not really fully committing. And I think that was inspiration. Without naming those companies, it was definitely an inspiration. Wanting to see something that we were passionate about, and probably just sharing that joy to other people and discovering it as well.
I think you meant tinkering, but
they broke the seal and have invalidated the warranty. No, but it's good. I love it. Actually, I love that. Actually, like, I love that image of tampering with, because getting shocked by it.
Yeah. So I'll name one of the companies, like the
Adam looks like he's like made the biggest faux pas.
Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
You haven't.
Yeah.
It's all good. I love it.
But like the basement is one of those places that we see, doing that pretty well, right? So, when I'm
and really early on, right? I mean, like, Caden's. I mean, when I way back when I did, and I don't talk about this too often, when I did the story for NPR, that was like the first time the room escape games was like on NPR. It was like maze rooms down in Center City and the basement, and they had each been up for maybe 9 months, maybe a year and a half. One of them at that point. And like, the basement always felt super cinematic, right from the jump. And then a lot of other spots felt, I don't know, like someone bought a kit off the back of a truck somewhere. And it always surprised me. It didn't at the same time. Like, it takes a lot of effort to make something that.
Oh yeah, I mean, understatement. Yeah, absolutely. And so part of the spark that drove us to open this was taking all of those things that we didn't like about escape rooms and subverting the tropes. So, for example, like the whole long list of rules of things you do, like, can do, can't do, the paragraph that is sometimes comes across as sounding red about, like, oh, well, now you're in a magical forest and, no hate if anyone actually has a magical forest escape room, but we just or directional locks or number locks, and of course those things have their place. They're fun, but it's just not what we wanted to do. We wanted our puzzles to be in world, to be natural, to be part of whatever quest we're sending them on.
Right, and the big thing for us is to start with the story and then let the puzzles arise out of that. So where do we want the narrative to go, and how can we involve the participants in that, and I end up surprised at how well that works out. There's a puzzle, without giving too much away, related to the family, and the way that it has you engage with the family, kind of organically. We didn't really plan for that to happen, but it just kind of worked out really, really well because of that approach.
We mentioned the family. Let's let's take a step in for a second, and there's going to be more rooms in the future, and I definitely have questions about where you guys are headed with all this. But like right now, there's the star attraction, the one that's open, is Hope End, and I wonder if someone could, which one of you wants to take a crack at explaining what a bit of the story is here.
Well,
I'm laughing because they're like everyone's like passing the microphones off to each other to like avoid. It's like a hot potato.
Abstractly, Hope End is a story about family dynamics, partially inspired by my own family. So obviously my brother and I are two of the creators, and we had. We wrote the story, and we have two other brothers that helped do that as well.
Nobody's murdered each other yet. So.
Yet.
Yeah. Inspired, not maybe, not plagiarized. So the story of Hope End is the story of a family member who is left behind. A survivor. I hear her yelling in the background currently. So players are asked to enter Hope End and to solve the mystery, basically, of what happened to the family. And I guess that's it in a nutshell. That was probably a very confusing explanation.
Ooh,
yeah, that's Dolores.
All very dynamic. Why set it up so that there is? Because we mentioned the family. Why go through the process of setting up not only a room that has an actor in it, which that drives up cost, but also you guys did, and forgive me, this is mildly spoilery, you spent a lot of time with a bunch of actors and developed a lot of material that people will encounter in the room that is visual in various ways, and there's audio elements, and so there's a lot of time spent building out who this family is and a lot of resources invested in manifesting them. Why take that tack as opposed to the equivalent of an audio log in a video game, which in the case of escape rooms is often paper ephemera, like everyone's journals, would have been so much cheaper to do journals, guys.
Oh man, we should have asked your advice when we started this place. No, I mean, because we wanted to tell a story, and like Benjamin said, that's where we started. Like, okay, what kind of story do we want to tell? Okay,
yeah.
now
who are these characters? How would this person respond to the players doing such and such a thing, or this other character talking about them like this?
And then part of you mentioned working with the other actors. Well, I'm not an actor, my bad. But, working with the actors that we chose to work with was, if we wanted to, hopefully become part of the immersive community in Los Angeles, we wanted to use actors that, had cred in that community, rather than, call my uncle and be like, oh, hey, can you read some lines for me? And so that was a big reason why we worked with, we were lucky enough to work with the actors that we got to work with.
Actors that we admired, actually, quite a bit.
Deeply admired.
Melinda Decay, obviously, is a big one for me. I absolutely love her performance anytime I get a chance to see her. But the story definitely, I feel like, got out of hand in a good way. Because it kind of allowed us to just expand into the world of this investigation and into the world of the ministry. And I think people could kind of appreciate that, because some players will come in and there's that surface level of, I want to play the game, I like the story, in and out. And there's some people that want to ask questions and know where this goes. And I think I enjoyed that with some productions. And it was a world where I was able to escape. And I think providing that on some level, if we were able to achieve it.
Yeah. How long did it take to develop the world, to develop the characters? Because there's one of the things that kind of really blows me away about this is that there are elements to this that, as you're kind of unraveling the threads, it both gives you the story, and not in the sense of plot, but in the sense of character. It gives you the characters' relationships, but it's also asking you to understand in order to move the mechanics of the game forward. From the outside looking in, that does not strike me as something easy to achieve, if only because it's so rare to see. So take us through a little bit of the development process here.
Oh boy.
Welcome to the show, guys.
So this started back in 2017.
Oh, wowzers. 5 years, almost 6 years ago now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we opened our doors in 2021 to the public. And that was a big step, because we weren't quite sure after pandemic and everything if everything was still holding up in our heads as far as the way we envisioned it.
I thought we were going to bomb hard. Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. And there was a bit of fear of putting it out into the public, but it started back in 2017, and it started with absolutely always why. Why are we here as a company? Not just us as the ministry, but why is the ministry going into this investigation, or what is the investigation? Finding the premise and tossing around, just brainstorming, Jonathan and I. And we came up with Hope End through a couple of inspirations. I think one of them can be fairly obvious. The Willows was a huge inspiration, to some extent. And I think the characters were then kind of where we just piece by piece, who are these family members? I mean, we even have family members that are not even in the production that could probably be thrown in there if we ever wanted to, that have a whole backstory. And it's, who is this family member? Why are they who they are? Why did they react to Dolores? What do they want? Yes, absolutely. And so once we knew who the characters were, the story kind of started coming together as to who these people were, who they were to Dolores, and how that just affected her life and who she became later.
And then did the puzzling then come out of that? Like knowing this is the story, and now we're going to reverse engineer, the clues that were left behind.
Yeah, definitely. We tried to look at a character and, give them, one of the things early on was, what does this character do, mainly with their life, and then what kind of prop can we center the puzzle around, and then how could we, make that integrate that with who they are as a person.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we started with kind of an overarching arc of where we wanted the story to go. We had a few ideas of, this is a kind of puzzle we'd like to do. So then it was just, like a multi-year process of thinking about how do we make those two mesh together. And so, I did a lot of the writing, and I relied a lot on Benjamin to, tell me if it sucked and to make it not suck. But it was a really just a years-long collaboration between the three of us and others as well.
When did you start first getting it on its feet? Like, what was the playtesting process like? Were you playtesting individually? It was hell.
Yeah,
hell, terrible. I like this, like this.
I mean, okay, you have to understand that, we did this may sound like bragging, but it's not. Like, we did all the tech ourselves. And when we started, 2017, when we opened the Ministry of Peculiarities, LLC, we didn't know how to do any of that.
Oh my God!
And so
who were you guys before all this? Taking a pause here.
Sure.
Let's get back to the process. We talk a little bit of why you wound up here, but who were you before this? So you didn't know how to do this at all, and you become these guys.
No, I mean, we're just a few guys that enjoyed escape rooms. But I mean, so I still have a day job. I work at the University of the West, which is this tiny little university in Rosemead, California. I'm the head of basically an ESL program. Yeah, that's my background. Oh, I was a philosophy major in college and linguistics.
Oh my
Masters,
God.
you know.
All right.
Yeah, I was teaching English as a second language abroad, and so I kind of came on and helped starting in like 2018, 2019.
I lured him back. Yes.
I believe it was in 2017 when
okay.
we were doing a pop-up at my house, and which we got great reviews, and we only put it together in a month, kind of flying by the skin of our teeth, trying to learn how to do tech and put puzzles together and write in a short story. And
So I hear, you know, Adam, what was your background?
Wealth management.
Okay.
And I work for a wealth management out of Claremont, California here.
So like I hear ESL, so I hear like, you know, philosophy major, I hear, you know, language being like a real, you know, heart of it all. Definitely business acumen, like that's part of that key. But like I'm not hearing theater, I'm not hearing puzzle making. Like it really was just born out of y'all just like, when did you get the bug for going to escape games and immersive theater then? Like, how did you wind up in this world at all?
Yeah.
I'm like freaking out. Like genuinely, like,
so,
how?
For me,
Not in a bad way.
I think I probably got the bug first. Probably. I don't know.
I'm not sure. I was just going to say I went to an escape room like very, very early on. I'm trying to even remember. It was a long time ago. And it was like the only one that I had ever heard of. And of course I had played, you know, these like flash escape games online. And so I went and, you know, it was basically a bunch of puzzles in a room, you know, very office-y room. But I still was, I thought it was cool that was being brought into the real world. And then when I came back from, you know, teaching abroad or whatever, I went to the Willows, and that absolutely blew my mind. And so that, you know, made me want to do something similar with putting them together.
I do really enjoy that the Willows, that like a local show is like a common refrain for you guys. Also just got distracted by something on the wall.
Oh, okay.
I'll talk about that later. Yeah. Anyway, nicely done, guys. I'll explain later, everybody. Don't worry. If I explain right now, it'd be way too narcissistic. But I love that there's this element that's woven in here, right? Like that show, kind of galvanizing you guys, becoming kind of a lingua franca for all of you. So part of this, I guess, is when you entered into it, you didn't know how complex it was going to get, I guess. Is that part of the story here?
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. No,
I mean, I think one of the things you have to understand about the ministry is that it's the glue that holds it together is hubris. So it's like, you know, we want to do something, and so we assume that we can do it. And we, you know, make it happen to some degree.
Probably spend an inordinate amount of time trying to make
and
it
money,
happen.
yes. So yeah, you know, how do we do all the tech? Hubris. I mean, Benjamin is very bright as well, but I guess that helps. But yeah.
Just echoing the ideas that we have sometimes get reined in by looking at the sticker cost of what we could probably do, and then realizing the time commitment and everything. There's so much that we didn't take into consideration when we did this, and absolutely days that we wanted to just throw our hands up and walk away. Even finding the location was, you know, quite the challenge. And so things that we never had to deal with, tech, government, you know, licensing, insurance, construction.
Yeah, there's massive unfun parts of this all, but like it hasn't seemed to, as much as it may weigh down your souls, like on the back end of things, it doesn't seem to have stopped the drive to make something that's got this obsessive level of detail, and that also comes through with like the performances you get out of the actors, both the actors who are in recorded material and in IRL. So was that also something you sort of self-taught, bringing yourselves together, or did you rope some people in? Or
perfectionism is another one of those things that we kind of all have in common, and we're not like
hubris
experts.
and perfectionism. What a dangerous combination.
Oh, I mean, no joke. No joke. So we're not experts, in doing these things, but we know what we like. We know what we want to see, and so we I guess try to get that. One of the things with our live actors is we try to work with working actors. We don't want, again, a game master that we teach to act, because I couldn't do that anyways. So that's
a really good point.
We've worked
that's
with.
a really, really good point, right? I think there's plenty of people who try that route, and you feel it. You really, really feel it. And there are so many working actors, just available, who need day jobs. I've suddenly hijacked everything. Like, that's always long been like one of my obsessions in this whole field, is like, they're working actors and they need day jobs, and there could be interesting things they could do instead of, like, I don't know, waiting tables, even though that can be very lucrative, but maybe there's other things that could be lucrative or fun or good. And I'm so glad to hear that you're tapping into working actors first and foremost.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very important to us.
And I think it's really come to fruition. But we've had the chance to work with some really, really amazing actors that have kind of taken Dolores in ways that we didn't really expect, but we encourage it.
So Hope End is what's up right now. You guys occupy the spot of a former billiards hall. So, and even though through the magic of non-Euclidean space dynamics, I have no idea how big the room actually is beyond the lobby. The lobby itself is like, a good size, and in some cases 2 or 3 times the size of some lobbies I've been of some commercial escape games out there. So what's the expansion plan here? What's on the roadmap?
Well, we're working on our second experience. It will not be the same genre as Hope End, but of course it'll still be tied in. It'll be a ministry investigation that we, another wild goose chase that we, send our players on. I don't know, how much more do you want to say?
Well, I think speaking on the lobby, that was definitely intentional. We wanted a space that we could work with, that we could do short run productions, or even what you see when you come in to see Hope End. We wanted this to be a workable space, not just a place where people sign waivers and just get on board to do things. And those lobbies have their time and place. And we have roughly 4,000 square feet here.
Oh, wow. How much are you using right now?
Hope End in this room, we're probably looking around 2,000 to 2,400.
So more than half is currently active.
Absolutely, yeah. And so as far as the second experience, there's lots of ideas being tossed around and utilizing some other space outside of the 4 walls that the unit is having us there for. But yeah, it's a big space. We wanted room. I think one thing that we sought after was just wisdom from other escape room owners. And it was the number one complaint I think I heard from most escape room owners was space. I wish I had more space. Of course, getting that space was also biting the bullet on additional costs of not utilizing that space, and still not utilizing that space. But I think we're still at least able to expand and create, and having that freedom to do so was important to us.
And there's that experience, but also there is something else you guys, I believe, are working on next year.
So you've got a call coming in.
Oh, we're kind of in the middle.
Said it was important.
Can it just wait?
Hey, you told me to make you look impressive in front of Noah. So
shush.
You told me Noah would be.
Okay, all right.
Looks like you were...
Just put it through. Hello? Oh. Did we miss it?
You have 3 new messages.
Oh, okay.
Message 1.
I woke up in my backyard.
Well, this must be
and
from the
gold
tip
was
line.
falling from the sky, but I could see the dogs were coming and eating the gold.
Okay. Skip.
Message 2. This message is for Higgins, reminding you to renew your quarterly subscription to Self-Confidence for Dummies.
Okay.
Please remit
Skip.
Message 3.
Yes, this message is for the Bureau of Peculiarities. I'm calling from New Orleans, Louisiana, and I don't know who to approach about this,
Okay.
but I've got a bit of a problem I need some help with. Last Tuesday, I was downtown at the Overlook when I was approached by a...
Okay.
End of messages.
That sounded serious.
Okay. The Overlook. Do we have time on the schedule for that?
Well, looks like we have a spot March 30th to April 2nd.
Okay. All right. We'll
see you at the Overlook.
Oh, we've had some really interesting people come through, and one of them has contacted us about being involved in the Overlook Film Festival in New Orleans next year, so we're really happy about that.
Very excited to have the ministry go to New Orleans and conduct an investigation, hopefully with the help of some poor miscreants that we can draw into our employ.
So the challenge of working in a city that you don't get to be in much, that's got to be interesting. But I can tell you guys aren't afraid of like almost any challenge. Also, having gotten to witness you jump into, and this was my first experience of your work, was when you were at the Invitational. You did 72-hour Film Fest style and really blew us away, being able to just have something appear basically out of nothing. You guys took a library room and turned it into what felt like a fully kitted out, haunted tiki, room thing going on. I don't know how exactly to describe it. Because it wasn't an escape game, but it had all of those elements that you would have in a fully rigged room out of thin air. So is that the kind of thing you're thinking the gags you're going to get up to for New Orleans? Or are you thinking like going heavier on the story side? Like you have a lot of trump cards in your deck. So
yeah. So it's funny you should mention the immersive invitational that we did 6 months ago or something like that. Because that was one of the things that I think really gave us the confidence to, when we were approached about Overlook, to say, we want to do it. But it's also a good example of some of the things that the principles that we hold dear. And one of those is, doing things in situ, right? Like we're not going to build, to some degree, we are not going to build puzzles which we're then going to cart to New Orleans. We are going to take tech and what's the word? Mechanisms and install them in.
For a second, I got excited you're going to bring mechs, and I'm like, wow, that is a
dude,
big genre shift.
I've been getting really into that. No.
Gundam in New Orleans. Don't know how it does with. I don't know what it does with horror Gundam. Oh boy, that was scary. No, that sounds like a good idea actually.
I think you started something.
Oh boy, yeah, somebody. Sorry, my bad.
No. Yeah, so that's kind of it. Like we want to go into a space and do something weird with ordinary stuff that's there anyways. And that's exactly what we did with the Invitational, right? Like, rigging books to fall off a shelf or whatever.
To rattle on its own, yeah.
Yeah, take control over the lights, or those are just really simple examples. And yeah, that's what we're hoping to do.
It is amazing how like just a little touch here or there can like completely surprise and delight, right? Like a book falling off a shelf in a space where you know that the artist had no time. It feels just like the most incredible thing. Do people hit you up to like, hey, could you like come and like do my kid's birthday party? I mean, like people hit up JFI all the time for that, and like sometimes they say yes and they go and do it. Has that happened to you guys?
Very occasionally, but if anyone's listening, and just kidding.
All me. We've had a few interested parties that requested some things, and unfortunately, untimely matters. It just really had our hands tied to not be able to commit, and we do love doing those things. Time's always the issue, though. So
yeah. When you guys set out on this adventure in 2017, and granted, no one expected the pandemic and all of the travails that came with that we're still dealing with right now. Did you expect to like kind of find this groove that you're in? Did you is this what you wanted? Is this what you imagined, or is this
I mean, honestly, the response to us is so far beyond what I expected. We've the community's been so supportive. People have been so effusive at times. I think that's the right word.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah. I mean, the number of people who were like, Noah, you've got to go. Noah, you've got to go. Noah, you've got to go. I'm like, oh, but it's Azusa. Yeah. I mean, I can only eat so much Donut Man, and they just put a Donut Man downtown. I don't need to go, right? And then I went and we were so. I mean, it was such a special experience for us. Like we got to bring the team in, and we hadn't seen each other in a while, and all that, or never met. But also the room itself is just really magical. Sorry, Adam, I'm walking.
Oh no. I mean, I'm being effusive. We've been accused of even paying for reviews.
Oh dang!
And so, I think
that we haven't, by the way.
No, that's also how you know you're doing well.
Absolutely. The community has been very supportive, and we love the enthusiasts on both sides. The escape room. Yes. Immersive, they're both wonderful people, and they're both very respectful, which is kind of quite the contrary when it comes to escape rooms that we've heard. People respect the set and respect our actress for them.
Yeah, we got told like, oh, your stuff's going to get broken all the time, because a lot of what we use in Hope End is, actual antiques that we've got from estate sales or thrift shops and that kind of thing, and honestly it hasn't been that big of a problem, so I think that's what he's trying to.
I think the people who used to like bring like their own tool sets to like rip apart walls, I think maybe they fell out of practice over the course of 2020. And I'm literally that there was this family apparently in the Southland who would go around and they would sneak in screws and socket wrenches and everything else, and just like literally tear a room apart. Well, trying to reset this. We broke the record. Thank God. We need an extra 45 minutes to reset the room because we broke everything.
And so we're just waiting for that moment for maybe people that are not enthusiasts to come in and maybe don't like what we do. And we've had those. We've had some of those people, and they leave and they're entertained and delighted with what we provide for them. And so we're happy to do it, and we're happy to continue to do so.
Yeah, we know we're not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. Sometimes if people are hardcore escape room people, they think it's too much story, and I understand that perspective. That's fine. Or I guess occasionally someone from the immersive world may not be as into it because of the amount of puzzle solving, but
I can't really think of an instance of that, but we'll leave it open.
We'll let them have their own opinion.
And that's one of the things about the forum as a whole, right? Is like there's this huge spectrum of like what people are into, and like I remember pre-pandemic, immersive in some escape game circles was becoming a dirty word. It was like, oh no, the room's immersive. It's going to get in the way of my puzzle solving. And you trace it back and you think of like, what was it? Oh my God, I forgot. But like there was a company out of Japan that sort of like almost like starred, like they did the original escape room, and you would go to one of their events and it was like, you know, it would be like a Legend of Zelda themed event was the one I went to, or something like that. It wasn't Legend of Zelda, it was some kind of fantasy thing similar to Zelda. Or I remember one time they did one, I didn't go, but it was like an Attack on Titan one that was like in like at like LA Coliseum or something like that. And you go in and then you're handed a puzzle book. And you're told, like, walk around the room, find the clues, now come back here and fill out the form. And I was like, and having already been to physical rooms, I was like, what is this? This is like the original escape game people. But because it's like, you know, puzzle hunts and like that entire side of the world.
Right.
And yet, like, this thing that you guys have made sort of winds up blending form and function in a way that often feels seamless. And just the sheer amount of work, and indeed, yeah, the hubris to be like, oh, we can do that, and but like the fact that you guys pulled it off. I mean, do you ever like sit back and just go like, I can't believe that? What was the first time? And maybe feel free to get a tiny bit spoiler here, so like skip ahead by like 2 minutes. What was the first time you surprised yourself? What was your Han Solo moment where you're like, sometimes I even surprise myself?
I just want to say thank you, and then I'm going to pass it on the mic.
Well, okay, it's hard for me to say the first. You know, there when we had someone from, someone from a big escape room came and just absolutely loved it. That was big for me. But the biggest time for me was the Immersive Invitational, because, you know, we went into that saying like, okay, well, we've got this semi-successful experience, but like this is a little bit out of our wheelhouse. You know, I'm really afraid of making ourselves look stupid. And then when you guys loved our work, then I couldn't believe it. So yeah.
And I want to couch you guys being like, it's not just like me, Noah, or that. It's just that the immersive community that the other creators came through, because that was something we were really excited about, and so many of the other people in the Invitational came through and saw what you guys did, and just I think really got excited. You know, it's just like finding other parts of like, it's like if we're this like, if the community is this kind of like, you know, weird neural network, it's like, oh, this other part of our brain that we hadn't heard from before, and suddenly lighting up. So exciting. Oh yeah. Oh, there's stuff going on.
Yeah.
I love it.
Always something going on.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, yeah, sometimes these go. I don't want to just like sit here and just enthuse at you guys a little bit more, but like, if you could tell folks who are thinking about wanting to dive into that space where escape games and immersive theater, like really story driven immersive world making, and coming at it with a DIY ethos, where would, if you could tell this how to do it, if you could tell yourselves of 2017 one bit of advice, right? Like, you know, what would you want to kind of help jumpstart them?
I know what you're gonna say.
Oh, well, I guess this is the joke response, but half serious. Don't do it. I mean, no, I mean it's not true, but man, it has been so rough sometimes. You know, yeah, I mean, I've had just introduced so much anxiety into my life by setting off on this venture. I mean, I don't have any regrets, but yeah, it was hard. Yeah, okay, but I don't think I would want to tell other people like don't do it. Yeah. So that's not good advice. So you try.
Oh.
Okay, I got
nothing. Yeah.
I would say, you know, seek out assistance. You know, yeah.
Absolutely where I was going to go with it. If we're going to give real advice, it's seek out those who've been there. And as we said, the community is very open, very welcoming, very supportive. Don't be afraid to ask. I think, especially if you admire somebody and you want something similar to what they're creating and that field, that genre, go talk to them. The community is very supportive. They want to talk about their work. We love what we do. So we're open.
Yeah.
Come hear us complain about everything we had to go through over the past 5 years. Or we could give you some advice in various areas. I'm sure we learned a few tidbits here and there.
Absolutely. And that's a lovely thing, right? It's like, other people, you guys sought other people out, got advice, and now with everything you learned, you guys are in that position now, but also in the position to just keep making amazing stuff and grow beyond, and the legend continues to grow. And it's kind of wild because like you have only been open for like a year and change at this point, and I see good things for you guys in the long run. So thanks for having me out. Thanks for letting us do this here in the lobby.
Yeah, thanks so much. I mean, we're extremely flattered that you would be interested in interviewing us, especially because, I'm sure everybody knows by now we're kind of awkward. So
everyone in this field is awkward to one degree or another, especially the people who are most easy in front of a microphone, like this one right here.
That might be why we feel so at home in the community, I guess. I don't know.
There you go. All right, guys. More soon, I hope. Once again, I want to thank Adam, Jonathan, and Benjamin for being our guests on the show today. Check the show notes. Go discover the Ministry of Peculiarities for yourselves. Particularly if you're coming through Southern California and you're going on some immersive jaunts. Maybe you're coming out for when Universal opens up Super Nintendo World. I nearly call it Super Mario World because it's all Mario stuff. I don't know why they don't just call it Super Mario World, but let's not worry about that. So maybe you're coming out for that. Maybe there's other things you're looking for. It is well worth the time to get your crew together and go out to the ministry. Or, again, they're going to be at Overlook this year, so keep an eye out for what they're up to there. Hoping to have more on what's going on at Overlook on the show in the not too distant. All right. Now's the part of the show where I just talk to you about the stuff that's going on in immersive at the moment. Obviously, there's lots of XR news coming out of CES at the moment. HTC just dropped some new hardware. Honestly, I need to sort through and catch up with all the news. I'm in the middle of some major living situation changes. I'm not going anywhere, but other people are, and that's keeping me off my game at the moment as my apartment gets completely reorganized. And maybe they'll be in a regular about that later. Also, I'm recording this at night as opposed to in the morning because last week suddenly they were demolishing the building 2 doors down. And I get woken up in the morning by, I call them Constructicons because they look like the things that form Devastator, just slamming into buildings and ripping trees out. I watched that happen. That was terrifying. I felt really bad for the tree. And shaking the entire building with what they're up to. So, yeah, a little out of it right now. And I didn't want to start the year off this way. And hopefully the whole year won't be super chaotic. We're getting all the chaos out right now. But there's plenty to come. There's a call sheet up on the website right now. That's going to be in our new monthly format. So that's just going to stay on the front page all month long. It'll get updated as new jobs and new gigs and new opportunities appear. And that's already happening. So check in on the regular. I'll put that always here in the show notes all month long, so you can always find the latest and just check back weekly, and we'll put it out on social when there's new. We've got a review coming up next week of The Locksmith's Dream, which is an overnight experience out in, I believe it's out in Wales. Ellery went out and checked that out. Ellery is Blake Wiles' sister and is now one of our London correspondents. So Ellery went on an excursion for us, checked out the show, checked out the event, the weekend. I'm looking forward to reading it myself. And that should be popping up next week. We got a review rundown is coming up. There's a few things coming in right now. And there's all kinds of remote work popping off. Do check out Everything Immersive because there's plenty over there at the moment. And I will be reorganizing the front page. As soon as I get a moment, the apartment's been torn apart. I'm not recording in my usual spot right now. So again, kind of, the flow is different for a hot minute. But there is so much that's going to be happening this year. And of course, the next stage is coming this June here in Los Angeles, and we're starting the programming of that. Hope to have a lot of information for you next month. Probably close to like the middle of the month. I figure we should have some really great stuff to talk to you about. So, with that in mind, let's wrap the show. The associate producer for No Proscenium is Parker Sella. Music for No Proscenium is by Chris Porter of the Speakeasy Society and Solar the Podcast. Special thanks to Siobhan O'Loughlin for voicing our intro. And this podcast is made possible by our Patreon backers and is created by me. I'm Noah Nelson. And until next time, I'll see you at the show.